But let's rewind, Jim. Went to Boulder. I was one of the guest speakers at the Nike Coach of the Year clinic. So to give you some context in that, it happens once a year in football. It's the best high school coaches in America. They're all Nike teams, and Nike brings them to a destination. They've been to Oregon, they've been to Washington, they've been to they went to Florida a year ago. You spend time with the staff on that campus. You usually observe a practice, you go to some meetings, you connect with the head coach, all things that this group got to do. But most importantly, you're around like head coach at Mater Dei, St. John Bosco, to name a couple, Allen High School, right? Remember Friday Night Lights, Harvard Westlake. You just kind of go up and down the list. It's just premier coaches. Westlake out in Texas and Austin from, Cade Klubnik, that's his high school. If you remember the quarterback who's now the returning starter, probably Heisman frontrunner for Clemson. I mean, it was the who's who from Florida to New Jersey to all over the country. And the bonding and the conversations, man, it was so unique. And I learned so much. I want to share a couple of those things today. We shared in the newsletter as well. Number one, let's just go to the perceived negative and what blew my mind. High school players can transfer every year, just like college right now. Right, Jim, you chuckle. I think those watching will chuckle too.
Yeah.
Because it's chaos, right? I asked every coach I asked probably 50% of the coaches, what is your greatest challenge that maybe you didn't perceive in 2019, right? Pre-pandemic to now. And it was a version of retention. It was a version of recruiting. It was a version of social media. It was a version of reality, right? Athletes understanding reality. And that was kind of like the bummer of it, but also the truth. And then the other side is where I left Colorado. I left so inspired around the future of football. Because what Nike is doing, pouring into this game, what is happening in girls flag football as it is exploding across the globe. The World Championships this year are in China in August, right? Like a year ago, they were in Birmingham. They're all over the globe. I mean, it's just beautiful what is happening in the game. And then these coaches, the ones that have to deal with what we just referenced, just like college coaches, they haven't flinched. And I think this generation of coaches right now are throwing down on the values that were thrown down on us back in the day. And I love it. It's commitment, it's discipline, it's trust, it's integrity, it's accountability. And I just love it, man. I really do. So I'm really inspired by that. And then I think the Colorado version of it, same. Watching this team compete. It was the first day that media was allowed to go to practice, which was kind of cool. So I got to see some old friends like Curtis Snyder and company. But you watch this roster, and I was there in Coach Prime, Deion Sanders' first spring, Jim, as you recall, back when they were back in the Pac-12. They were not good. They had Travis Hunter, they had Shedeur Sanders, they had a couple pieces, but they were not a legit solidified program, obviously. Like they were not a good team under Carl Durrell in his final year. It's a reason why he was let go. Deion came in, he brought his luggage, so a bunch of players left, a bunch of new faces came in, and that was kind of their first 2 years. Last year they won some tight games. They had a successful season. Now their two best players, the faces, like I felt like the only two players you really heard a lot from, which was maybe by design, strategy, but definitely by ability. And Travis Hunter, the Heisman winner last year, and Shedeur Sanders, their starting quarterback and projected first-round pick, they're gone. So you're wondering, like, was it all flash, all elite at those levels? And I'm here to tell you it's not. Jim, it's not. Like, they got real players. They look like a real program. Like, and when I dive into it, I think what makes it so unique, a unicorn, obviously it's Deion. He's a unicorn. He's a cultural icon. It has been written. I don't know if this is true because I can't back it up with true facts. One of the 20 most recognizable people in the world, definitely in America. Like Deion Sanders might be that. So he's your head coach. But what I think makes this thing work is his staff. The majority of his staff have known him for at minimum 18 years. Maximum grew up as childhood friends with him. The loyalty to the head coach, the echoing of his approach and philosophy is uncommon. And then you look at the coordinators, and they both come from the NFL. I mean, they're really skilled in what they do. So I just say, like, it was easy, I think, for the world to hate on Colorado. We pride ourselves on being thoughtful around our dialogue. And I spent time with Rick George after my presentation to the coaches. It's not perfect. No place is. But I really walked away impressed with the loyalty factor to Deion. Now, that has a double-edged sword, but I think it works. And then the acumen at the top level of the coordinators, they just bring in Byron Leftwich as well a couple days after I returned from my time in Boulder. And I'm just here to say, like, they're not going to win the national championship from what I observed. I don't think they're at that level yet, but they're no longer a team that's going to win 4 games, in my opinion. I really don't think so. Caden Salter, transfer from Liberty, looks the part, experience. Julian Lewis, I'm going to be hard-pressed to find somebody who can spin it prettier than him all spring. Dude's beautiful. Dante Moore, maybe. So they're positioned well, is my point.
Yeah, and it's interesting how this all kind of like comes through too, because Deion has pretty famously said, like, I'm not going to recruit at people's houses and rest of stuff. So now he's got all these coaches. The luck of this, all these high school coaches are now coming to him for this event that you're at. So like, it's just to me that was kind of like a funny like side story of it, but. Yeah, to your point, like, and the coaching staff is like the NFL Network set from like 10 years ago, because you got Deion, you got Warren Sapp, you got Marshall Faulk. So obviously, the name factor alone on the coach. Never mind, like, pretend like they can't coach at all. Just from the name factor at all, like, you're gonna get people to come there because you're like, I want to do what he did. I want to be the next him. And so when you look at that quarterback situation, and Shedeur, he led the Big 12 in passing last year. He's the only one of the top 11, so from the Big 12 last year, of quarterbacks that is not returning. The next 10 guys are all coming back, so it'll be a whole. And I think we'll kind of plunge into this as we go of the quarterback situations around. But it's fascinating how where he is right now. Obviously, he'll be picked fairly high in the draft. Where that'll be, we'll find out in a month. But to look at what they've been able to do as far as replacing him, because there was that uncertainty. Because you'd see the rumors about the Cowboys job and stuff like that, and you're like, is Deion going to stay? Is Deion going to go? What's he going to do? Obviously, he's staying, and they've brought in 2 quarterbacks who, of various experience level, that are definitely, legit dudes.
Yeah, and I think there's a world of legitness that now, if legitness is a word, if it ends with S, it's a dollar sign. Like, because you have to pay 2 quarterbacks is the point.
Right.
Like, Caden Salter was highly sought after in the portal. The portal was not dramatically deep in talent at this position, in my opinion. You look at the year with Penix and Bo Nix, like, Jaden Daniels, like, totally different compared to now in my lens. I've talked to many coaches at premier places where I said, how come you didn't get a guy? And they're like, didn't feel as though that type of talent was there for the money, right? Fernando Mendoza, really good player, wouldn't put him in the Michael Penix Jr. category or Bo Nix category. Now, he might have been more successful at Cal than they were at Auburn, right? You could argue that. Like, I understand that lens. But I think the projection of those guys was higher than this year's portal class. So Caden Salter, to me, we were with him this summer. He's a Elite 11 counselor.
I was just going to say, that's how ironic that is, that both of those guys were at the Elite 11 last year. Neither of them attached to Colorado at the time.
Right. Miller Moss was at Elite 11 last year, and he and Julian were attached to SC.
And there you go. So it just shows you how funny how this quarterback world works right now.
Totally. And so last thing, we'll move on from Colorado. And again, we're going to get to Marcus Arroyo here in a moment. I think it's noteworthy because Colorado in its history has been, and Rick George has referenced this, of like, hey, we got to get our NL game up, our collective game up. Like, they just paid 2 quarterbacks. Very few teams across the country can do that at a premium level. They've done it. And I do think there's something to sitting, waiting, and letting it rip. That's what I love that USC has. We reference that in one of our more recent podcasts. We talked about the Big Ten in the quarterback position with Jaden Mayava and the freshman Hassan Longstreet, who's there. He's a rock star, right? He's another 5-star guy. Julian went to Colorado. Hassan came to USC, and away they went, as well as they added in a veteran in Sam Heward, who was a former 5-star quarterback as well. Like, I just think it's really cool when you can sit. Not for 2 or 3 years. We get that. That ain't happening anymore. Especially when you're Julian and you've reclassified, meaning he should be in his spring of his junior year in high school right now, entering his senior year. He reclassified, and now he's at Colorado, and he looked the part, dude. He didn't look like freshman. Now, Can you process? Can you handle it? All the things that go into that. I have no idea. Like, I don't think anyone will until they go to games. Even if you go to 5 practices, I think it's really hard to navigate that. We try in the Big Ten. We go to 1 practice. We make a bunch of assumptions, but it's really hard from one day's of body work.